going to be moving to our next presentation. Silvi and Anne are going to be presenting an awesome topic. They're both from Argentina, and they're going to be discussing how to establish an international web presence. So again, I think this is a topic that is often, top of mind for everybody when you're actually producing those the websites. Hi, Silvi. And
hi, Brian.
They're going to be nice to see you again. Hi, Anne.
How are you?
Fine, thanks. How you doing?
Fine.
All right, great.
Excellent. It's great being here. Okay, I'll go ahead and start sharing the screen.
Perfect. So happy to have you both here. Again, I'm not going to take up more of your time, but I will hop in towards the end of the presentation that usually shows time, and then we can address any questions that people have, and hopefully engage in the discussion. All right. Okay. Good luck.
Thank you. Okay, I'm ready. Okay, go global, think local. How to establish an international web presence. Well, hello everyone. First of all, thanks for joining us today. We are I'm Montañana.
And this is Silvi Nuñez.
And we'll be your presenters today. We're both Spanish translators, graduated from the National University of Córdoba in Argentina. And as part of our roles at Optimational, we help businesses develop an international presence with multilingual content.
Okay, so did you know that the majority of people in this world who use Google don't search in English? They search in other languages? And this is one of the reasons why so many brands are starting to translate their content. It's one of the easiest and fastest ways to reach new potential buyers. Because buyers usually prefer visiting sites and reading content in their language. It drives engagement, builds relationship and brand loyalty. Now, the problem we have is that oftentimes there's no real planning, there's no research, which leads to many different challenges that marketers often face. And this is why today we'll focus on two important ingredients that any international growth recipe should bear in mind: the market research and the multilingual content strategy. Now, a careful market research will allow us to make risk-informed decisions and to maximize the impact in global markets. And the multilingual content strategy will help us attract that international traffic, overcome barriers, engage audiences, improve customer satisfaction through content that buyers can relate to, and most importantly, that deliver ROI. Now, focusing on the market research first. When preparing to go global, conducting an adequate market research is key. Because from a global growth perspective, the challenge that we have is that no two markets are the same, and research reduces risk. So the more you know about where you're going and who you're selling to, the better you can plan. Now, it's important to question a market and invest more time in understanding the consumer. Now, during this market research, some of the things that we can analyze and consider are the market. It's important that we understand the dynamics of the market we want to target, and that we assess that market for its size and its potential for growth. We should focus on any barriers to entry, for example. Next, we'll focus on the audience, because the biggest barrier to even beginning the process of business expansion is usually the lack of a deep understanding of the buyer in the first place. Now, during this research, it's important that we identify who needs the product or service, what job the consumer is trying to get done, what pain points and frustrations they have, how they make purchase decisions, or what the best ways and channels to approach them are. Next, we'll focus on the product fit. It's important to make sure that there will be business opportunities for your products or services, that your products are going to fit, and that the people are going to want to pay for it. We can't just assume that the appeal in an international market is going to be the same and that our pricing is in line with what clients are willing to pay. And finally, we're going to focus on the competition. It's key that we identify local and international competition, that we analyze how large they are, what strategies they're using, who they're selling to, and that we determine if we can really compete with them. Now, gathering all information will allow businesses to have a better understanding about the target markets and the customers, and to make informed decisions. Now, where do we get these insights from? There are many different ways and sources to gather insights from. Some of them can be through interviews or surveys, and other direct contact with representatives or potential buyers, for example. They will allow you to identify facts about your target audiences, about the challenges they're facing, about their needs. We can also check Google and social media analytics. They can help you learn more about your buyers, about the countries and languages that are already providing organic search visibility, about the type of content that generates more engagement, or maybe the keywords that attract the most traffic. We can also check trade and economic statistics, where we'll find export opportunities, industry information, and other data that can be indicators of market potential for your business. And we can also check Google Trends, where we'll find, for example, or where we'll be able to identify the consumer demands and the trends, what consumers are searching about the competing brands, which will help you determine the market interest. Now, all of these insights we obtain from the market research will help a business in many ways. It will help them understand the buyer and the market, to adjust the strategy based on the insights, and to create campaigns that reach the correct people who will relate mostly to your company's message and products. And once you've gathered all of these insights, it's important to do an objective analysis and to determine if there is an opportunity to make an impact on that new market and to take action. Maybe you conclude that it's just not the right moment for a particular market. This may be a great chance to acknowledge and overcome any potential threats or obstacles that you identify. Maybe you're unsure, and maybe you can test the waters and see if it's worthwhile, see what kind of results it gets. And if you determine that there is an opportunity, then you can start thinking about a multilingual content strategy to help break down those cultural differences and to assure that communication has the desired effect on the target audience.
Okay, so now following the idea of what my colleague has just said, it is worth noting that when creating a plan, we cannot overlook data analysis, because this analysis is crucial for achieving the success of the multilingual content strategy. And this is indeed a complex but profitable process if done effectively. The elements of the strategy will vary depending on several factors such as the market, the approach, the value proposition, the budget, and the timeline chosen. Now, having this in mind, the first question that will pop up will be, where do I start? Well, the plans and good practices will be tailored and customer-centered, but today we will focus on 4 that for us are key. Let's start by defining the SMART goals. SMART. The acronym in this concept stands for specific, which will answer the question what, measurable, which will answer the question how much, attainable and realistic refer to the how question, and time-bound, of course, to the when question. So to put it simply, the goals to be achieved to foreshadow which path you need to follow in the first place. It is an overriding task to set ambitious goals at the beginning of the strategy. as it will help you stay on track and confirm that your opportunities, products, and services are aligned. Here you'll consider the number of buyers, the percentage of profits, the market, and the time period, for instance. Let's look at the following example. Suppose you have this initial goal of increasing website traffic from Spain by translating blog articles. Okay, this is a very general goal, so it needs to be restated in a more specific way. Now, if you turn this initial goal into a SMART goal, it will read the following: increasing website traffic from Spain by 15% by the end of Q4 by translating 100 blog articles. See, here you have answered all these SMART questions: the when, the how much, the how, and the what. Let me insist on the fact that setting a well-defined goal will lead to a well-thought strategy and clear results. And this last point paves the way for me to talk about another piece of this whole process, which is the selection of the content to be localized, transcreated, or translated, for instance. Now, when selecting the content to be translated, transcreated, or localized, some of the things that should be kept in mind are the goals, of course, what the best performing content is, and your target audience's interest. You can try asking yourself questions like, what type of content that I already have will engage audiences mostly? Or what content is absolutely a must to be localized in order to enter the new market? Maybe what content may remain in the source language for the time being. A good practice also is, for example, considering the 80-20 rule. That is to say, 80% of the traffic comes from more or less 20% of the content. In this way, you could focus on translating that 20% of content that best performs. Well, here I'm not going to get into technical details, but something that can be considered when deciding what content will be included as part of the strategy is a conversion funnel. And having a well-defined goal will help you strategically focus on a given part of that funnel. Now, let's give the funnel a quick overview. It is divided in 3 main parts: the top of the funnel, which helps increase traffic, gain followers, and build brand awareness through content that helps prospects solve a challenge or meet a need. Of course, one that you can help them with. Some examples are blog posts, social content, or ebooks. Then we have the middle of the funnel, which helps turn visitors into leads through content that helps potential buyers determine what the best solution for their challenge is. For instance, landing pages, email marketing, and forms. And at last but not least, we have the bottom of the funnel, which helps convert leads into customers through content that helps them make informed decisions. For instance, product demos, case studies, or testimonials. Again, having a SMART goal in mind, you can use the conversion funnel as a reference to prioritize the content to be translated. So now, once you have carried out the market analysis, defined the SMART goals, and selected the content, you're ready to start building the scalable process. And planning this process will help solve problems that you may come across when adapting your content to new markets. Some things you'll consider when building this process are the workflow, one that facilitates the expansion of the brand. It should help reflect the needs of the new target market. Some common steps of the workflow are translation and localization, SEO keyword research, copywriting, and graphic design, for example. Then we have the talents, meaning the team, the group of professionals that will take part in the strategy. whether they are freelance translators or a translation agency, or maybe a project manager if you decide to translate with an in-house language team. And the technology, the tools, the software, and related resources that will facilitate the team's work and will help them meet its goals. Here you'll need to consider any technologies you have or may need for these strategies, including, for example, translation tools, content authoring tools, and SEO tools. It is really important that after you have developed this kind of strategy and have put it into practice, a reanalysis and assessment be carried out to make sure the results were the one expected, or whether it is necessary to review some aspects of this strategy. And now, all things considered, and from our perspective, of course, it is crucial to be a process that is scalable and that is adaptable. For when the market penetration starts to increase, the strategy can be revised. In this way, the resulting strategy will be personalized and fits your needs and the needs of the target market. And to conclude, let me share a story with you. We recently worked with an online marketplace from Germany that in only 3 years developed an international presence in 3 different countries. How did I do it? Well, through an extensive market research and a multilingual content strategy. One of the market expansion strategies into Spain, to be more specific, involved the localization of the most highly ranked blog articles. The workflow included technical localization and SEO research. The talents, the team, included native linguists, subject matter experts, and SEO specialists. And the technology included the client CMS and an API integration to Smartcat, the translation tool. Now, this process helped the business solve their 2 main challenges, which were communication with a new audience and time management. And in a matter of only a few months, the strategy itself had led to over 170,000 impressions. And of course, a lot of knowledge to replicate in new markets.
Okay, so now kind of summing up the whole idea. No matter how similar it may look on the surface, every new market you enter is its own special case and needs to be treated that way. Success in market A does not guarantee success in market B. So remember, when you start working on building an international web presence, don't skip the market opportunity analysis. It's an essential step of every successful business plan that allows businesses to understand the potential of success and risk in the new market. And once you've decided that expanding into a potential new market is worth it, you're reaching those goals with a multilingual content strategy that reflects all of those insights we've gathered. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I mean, that was phenomenal. You're speaking my language. I love this stuff. I can listen to it and about it all day. So we'll move over to the questions because there are quite a few, and there's quite a few that have been upvoted as well. So there's a lot of people that want to know the same information.
Cool.
All right. So first of all, everyone's basically saying they love the presentation. So thank you. And what we have here is, should a brand's value proposition in new markets be adapted?
Okay, I'll take that one. So I don't think it needs to be adapted unless determine it's not fit for the new audience. As we've already said, what works in one country might not work in another one. So conducting market research, bearing the value proposition in mind, I think that's key. It will help you determine if it will be relevant for the new target audience. And it will help you see what the competition is doing, what users are searching for. You can also use surveys, for example, to find out.
Excellent.
I think that
Thank
answers the question.
It does. Thank you. I also want to remind people that there is a book giveaway for the best questions. So I will not be
Very
clearing
good
them this
book.
time. That was a user error on my part for clearing them last time. I apologize to everybody for that new platform. So we'll move into the next question, which was upvoted. How do you ensure SEO in other languages is done well?
Okay, do you want me to take over, Anne?
Yes, please.
Okay. There are many linguists that are specialists in SEO. That's what I found out recently. I think that in order to have success in a new market with SEO, it's important that whoever is in charge of the whole process understands SEO. It's able to guide the linguists or the specialists throughout the process, is able to give concrete indications and kind of walk the linguist through the whole process. So I think that's the way to assure it, to make sure that an expert is walking right next to the linguist.
Okay, great question. So definitely having somebody who knows their stuff, helping out with the linguist, walking hand in hand. Got it.
Exactly.
Thank you for that. Perfect. So we also have another question, which was, how frequently should we measure our translation strategy and what should we focus on?
I cannot hear. I cannot listen to the speaker.
I'm sorry, you couldn't hear me? I can definitely repeat that. How frequently should we measure our translation strategy and what should we focus on? Silvi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I
apologize, everyone, for that.
So unless she's back, this is kind of her special. She's the expert. She's the expert, but I can take over.
And
no, it's not working.
Try one more time. Nope, can't hear us. Okay. Unfortunate.
Okay. So I think the frequency will depend a lot based on each business's needs. But what it's important is to maintain a proactive approach and to repeat the process. For example, I would say 6 to 12 months may be a valid frequency. And you can use this opportunity to optimize the workflow based on the learnings, to revalidate and check that the investments you're making are making sense, and to verify that the market and the technology, which is so rapidly changing, are still the best choice. Are you back on?
Excellent. Are you back with us, Anne?
I don't think so.
Not yet?
I had trouble with the headset. I'm sorry. I couldn't.
No problem. So Silvi kindly said that you were the expert on the last question.
Yeah, I know. Technical
I think
problems, I'm sorry. But
right.
It was very good, Silvi. Thank you.
Excellent. You heard it. Okay.
We have another question. Do you think that machine translation is better than no translation at all?
Okay, I'll take this one. I think that machine translation actually, without editing, of course, is better than no translation at all. Maybe what you can do is to publish, instead of publishing the machine translated content into your website, maybe you can allow like an option on your site for your visitors to translate the content easily and quickly. Because that way you will prevent from having any issues with the machine translation output. And also in that way you can test and monitor the request and see what content receives more interest in a foreign language.
Yeah, I agree. A button for machine translation, definitely.
So actually, just building on that question, do you think that it can negatively impact the top of the funnel?
Yes, indeed, because I think that I'm not going to go into so technical details into machine translation because it's a very broad topic, and very controversial as well. But I think indeed it needs to be, if you're going to publish content on your website with a machine translation, I think you should edit it first. Maybe a machine translation post-editing could be a good option, but no machine translation just alone without any linguist checking that everything is okay.
Right.
And you know what?
Okay.
a lot of research, and people prefer, even if it's machine translated and it's not that good, but they prefer in their language rather than in English, for example. So I think maybe it does have an effect, but you could try it as a strategy. And if it doesn't work, then you can turn it around. But that's the whole thing. It's about testing different hypotheses and see what works best for your business model.
Perfect. Thanks for that. I do want to remind people that we do have live questions if they want to hop in and join us and ask a question so we can see your face, hear your voice. I do encourage people to do that because we're now north of 200 people, so there's got to be somebody in there that wants to actually ask a question on camera. I'm going to be pushing that because I'm excited for it.
Yeah, we want to see your faces.
See, everybody wants to see your faces. So if we move on to another question, according to your experience, how much content should a small digital agency translate to expand? And incidentally, in a parenthesis, they preface this question with "love the presentation." So,
Okay, thank you so much. Should I take this one, Silvi?
Go ahead.
Okay, I think that will depend a lot on your resources, the funding, the timing. I mean, it's not necessarily to go all in. Maybe you can start testing approaches, hypotheses, or maybe channels. But I would recommend that a must-have, the must-haves are the homepage and the about page. And then maybe you can start focusing on translating blog posts, the blogs articles, or the landing pages, for example, the ads. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It will depend definitely on your resources.
great. Did you want to add anything, Silvi? Nope. I caught you drinking water. I apologize. All right. So we do have, again, another question. Do you believe it's important to recruit your team members internationally when providing any language service, a translation, localization, live streaming, or voiceover, etc.?
Totally. Yes. I believe that question comes from the native experience part. I completely agree that for a strategy to make sense in the new target market, it has to be done by a native expert, by someone that lives in that place, that is super familiar with the language, with the terminology, with the culture. So I think that yes, they should be from those countries.
Totally. Besides, I think that when you hire international linguists, for example, because they are native speakers, when you expand to new markets, you're performing a localization more than just a translation. So it needs to fit the needs of the new target audience, and the native linguist will know the target audience better than any of us. So
definitely.
Right. And actually, just to add to that, they can also lose, for example, cultural sensitivities or nuances if they reside in another country. So if you're actually dealing with the target resources in the target country, you're probably all set. So that's fantastic.
Completely. Yeah.
Thank you for that. All right. Again, just going through the questions here. Where do you get information to understand new markets?
Well, we mentioned some of the resources here. We can conduct surveys, for example. We can use Google Analytics. For example, if you have a website already in place, you can check your Google Analytics to see who's coming organically to your website, who's being attracted, and maybe you can start from there. You can use Google Trends to see what people are searching for. You can use economic statistics too. There is a whole bunch of online resources. So just put market research, investigative research, and take it on from there.
Perfect. And did you want to add anything?
No, I'm good. I agree with what Silvi said. She covered everything on her part of the presentation. That's why I prefer not to talk in it.
That's fine. So one of the other questions is, can I target multiple countries that speak the same language, such as Spain and Latin America?
Okay. I think that even if the language is the same for different countries, such as I think it was Spain and Latin America, I would recommend that you try to localize for countries rather than for languages. I mean, each specific country has its own cultural and economic and technological aspects, so those that we were just discussing. And the ways buyers search, the ways they buy or they find a product, or maybe even the way they talk about something, that will vary depending on each country. So I think it's always best to prioritize country rather than language.
Yes, sure. Besides, I think it has doesn't have to do with the language itself, but with the target market. So it doesn't matter if we speak Spanish here or in Spain, but we are two completely different markets. So that's the answer. You have to focus first on the market and the language, of course, but the market is the most important, I think.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Another question. So we've got a few more that have come in. So, and we're doing really well on time. So this is perfect. How do you rate the weight of organic traffic versus payment SEO strategies?
How do you what? Sorry?
How do you rate?
How
So I'm assuming, yeah, what do you consider, I guess, more important, or what do you think the ratio should be? How would you evaluate, obtaining organic traffic versus paid traffic? I hope, Laura, that was a question from Laura, and I hope, Laura, that I interpreted that properly.
Okay, let's see if I can kind of jump into that question. I think that a marketing strategy should always focus on attracting people organically. It will have much better results. In the long term, the results will be much better than by ads. You will end up wasting a whole bunch of money, etc. So I think the ads are a great resource that you can use, but I would always prefer going for the organics or for the organic traffic. So taking this into the multilingual content strategy, if your budget and your timeline and your resources allow it, go for the organic traffic. Try to translate your blog, add SEO, try to translate your website, focus on that. But if you have limited resources, then maybe you can opt for an ads strategy and just kind of translate the ads and the landing pages and see how it goes, see if you actually have or receive the kind of traffic that you're expecting, and then you can, kind of measure, like Anne was saying, see how the strategy is going and where you can take it from there.
Excellent.
I hope that answers the question.
I think it does, and if I may, I have the impression a lot of people think that SEO is a very expensive venture, and it doesn't necessarily have to be. I mean, you can invest your own time and drive that organic traffic yourself. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about paid traffic versus SEO, I think it's important to say that there's a lot of information out there on how to even minimally affect your website with SEO. So I would recommend that people look into that before starting to pay consultants and everything else.
Yeah, SEO, it's not just keyword research, it's a whole bunch of strategies. So, and you don't have to implement them all. With just implementing a few of them, you'll start seeing the results. So start playing around with that.
Great. Well, again, thank you. I think we've gone through all our questions, unless people are going to chime in here. I think we'll see if there's any additional ones, and if not, then we can actually select a winner of the book. And I'm quickly scrolling through, and I don't see any additions. If you go into the QA section in the, you should be able to actually see the questions that have popped up.
Okay, so based on the votes, I think you would be the winner, and I love the SEO topic.
I can't.
But let's just pick someone else.
The winner.
Yeah.
Thank you, but no.
Anne, your choice?
Yes, I was just reading it here.
Who's taking the book?
Yeah, I know. I think the one on how much content should a small business agency translate to expand? That's a very good question, actually. Okay,
so we have a winner. Lourdes Cabellos, I think, is the name of the winner. So I apologize if I didn't pronounce that correctly, but we will ensure that we get that to you. So are you guys sticking around for networking?
Of course we are.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a break, and we're going to come back at 10 past the hour. So I wanted to thank you for a great presentation. Everyone loved it. There was a lot of questions, and I think this really hits home for a lot of people. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for
so
having
much.
us.